You'd think that we could put the photo of me with the president in the sting. I mean, we went all the way to Washington. We had it in the Oval Office. Are we not proud of this achievement? Anyway, Oliver McGee is, of course, a Republican strategist who's worked plenty of times in the White House and, well, he's keeping an eye on the impeachment proceedings, and he joins us now from DC, where it is yet again early in the morning, and it is time to go round again now. What's the latest with impeachment, where now, senators get to ask questions, and do they get to ask questions directly of the lawyers, or they have to sort of hand them to the Chief Justice who'll ask the questions of the lawyers pro and anti-Trump?
Well, Paul, the show is on. This is a time where the senators are required to be very quiet, submit their questions in writing to the Chief Justice Roberts, and he reads the questions, actually, to both sides, the House managers and the Trump lawyers.
Riveting TV.
And still the quiet, yes, still the quiet calm of the Senate proceeds forward. I like to say that the House is really the hot teacup, and the Senate is the soft saucer, and so that's what you're going to be seeing here. My concern is that Mitch McConnell has to get control of his Republican caucus to see if he can find the votes to introduce additional witnesses, aka John Bolton. Because I think that's going to open up more of a sideshow, and I think you open the barn door and then the cows jump out, and so that's going to cause a little bit of a ruckus there. But I really am more inclined to keep advisors who advise the president, particularly the National Security Advisor, keeping that pretty much so confidential. But I think we're going to be holding our breath to see how much of this is going to be bursting out of the barn door.
Because
I think
I was going to say, Oliver,
should be more conservative, and I think the country should be conservative in that.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. And look, Mitt Romney, of course, in many ways, got to the Senate by telling everyone in Utah, "Don't worry, I won't be any trouble for Donald Trump." Of course, the second he gets there, he's there for 6 years. He's got the money, the infrastructure to stay there for a whole lot longer. So out comes the shiv, of course, because he wanted to be Secretary of State. He didn't get that job, and there's always a lot more love on the left, even for a bloke who they all fought so hard to become president back in against him being president, of course, in 2012. Oh, how they have a very short memory. But let's get to where the process is now. So when it comes to impeachment, if they allow witnesses, John Bolton will say, "Sure, I've got a book to promote. I'm ready to go." Donald Trump says, "Well, hang on, this bloke was in the inner sanctum and knows things about national security that are relevant to 2020. This is not a guy who was around 4 years ago. He knows exactly the deal now. So I'm going to go off to the courts and say that executive privilege means he's not going to talk." All of that means that a judge will say something, that'll be appealed, and eventually it gets to a Supreme Court. Can you get that done any time before May, June, July?
Well, Paul, I think you've described that eloquently. I think Mitch McConnell has a real big problem on his hands opening up that barn door. He runs the risk of losing control of the calm that he has managed to create in the Senate because he's not letting these sideshows come in. And we don't want this to turn into the Kavanaugh hearings and the Kavanaugh experience. In the end, what resulted from that, Paul, Kavanaugh was confirmed, and we heard a whole lot of talking that was not necessary and created, sideshow characters like Avenatti jumping in, and that was a sideshow. The end result was that Kavanaugh got confirmed, and that's important. And the end result here, Paul, is that Donald Trump will be acquitted and that we will move on. And ultimately what we want here is this to be ended by this week so we can get ready for the State of the Union address, which is going to be a spectacular show. So many accomplishments that Trump is going to be talking about in an extraordinary presidency in 3 years with regard to the economy, trade. My God, what great achievements in the Mexico-Canadian trade deal and China trade deals, and more to come. And then, more importantly, the employment numbers are extraordinary things that the country can be really proud of. and impeachment will be forgotten as we move further down and going into the November elections. And the Democrats don't want to be talking about this.
Now,
so
I know
I agree with you. We need to end this show fast.
Yeah, sorry, mate. We're dealing with the satellite bounce back and forth. I apologise for cutting in on you there. Just a final one here. Where, look, obviously you and I, they may say, are of blind faith and apparently are not aware of all of the polling, the bookies or whatever else is that means Democrats think of the inevitability of a win in 2020. They felt that in 2016. But can I ask you, apart from the presidential achievements, can you show some electoral math, some polling? What gives you an insight that Trump can repeat or better 2016? Not just the achievements, but what gives you faith that a Wisconsin can stay, that he can hold an Iowa, that he can hold a Florida?
I think it's really, like I've said, the digitalization of presidential politics. We have to look at how the Trump campaign has so many touches to the voters. Even as we're going through this impeachment hoax and madness, he's still very in touch with where the voters are. He always has been. And more importantly, he's the best show in politics by far. And he has a message that says, if you like what we've done in the past 3 years, just hang on for another 4 years and you're going to see some more winning. And I think that's really what we're going to see, winning in Wisconsin, winning in the Rust Belt states of Michigan, Ohio. And then, you know, he's going to even have some opportunities in Pennsylvania. And I think the key thing is that if he can get 8 to 10%, maybe even 12% of the African American vote, he's going to have Nixon's numbers going into this 2020 election, and it's going to be hard for the Democrats to hold on to Philadelphia and then hold on to Detroit and hold on to Milwaukee, these big city centers where you're going to have African American voters coming out and really beginning to think, this is the first time I've had a job in several presidencies and then been able to hold on to that job and have good jobs. And I think that's where it's going to boil down to where we're going to be thinking about that in our pocketbooks, and impeachment's going to be way, way back into the history books by the time we go into that voting booth.
Oliver, we love talking to you. We'll do it again. Say good day to everyone at Fox DC on your way out, mate.